In this episode, latest models are hinting at another big severe weather event for Dixie Alley for Monday. The threat for tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail all look possible. In fact, the latest Storm Prediction Center Outlook has issued a Day 6 slight risk for severe weather. Then the Pacific storm train continues as most, if not all of California braces for several days, if not a couple of weeks, back-to-back storms that will likely lead to significant flooding and avalanches. Good afternoon, everyone. It is David Schlotthauer here in the Weather Center, keeping an eye on your weather forecast for this Wednesday afternoon, as we are keeping an eye on a lot as far as atmospheric rivers go when they hit California, and a pretty impressive severe weather event that could be developing by the early part of next week. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is the severe weather for early next week for the Deep South and for the Midwest. This could be pretty significant according to the Storm Prediction Center, as they did highlight a Day 6 slight risk for severe weather. So this is a look at the European model for Thursday in the next 24 hours, and I just want to run down on the atmosphere that we're seeing, what pattern we're in right now. We have a lot of rain back west. We'll get to that in the second half of the video, but of course down here in the Deep South, we are keeping an eye on a severe weather event that's getting underway for the early part of next week. For Friday, moderate to heavy rainfall is anticipated for Louisiana, for Arkansas, for portions there of Ohio, Indiana, for southern Illinois, and Missouri. A big difference between last week when you were dealing with huge amounts of Arctic air that was really just battering the nation. This go around, it's going to be a whole lot different. Much warmer, more moist, more unstable, with severe weather potential coming up for early next week. So here's a look at Saturday. Showers, thunderstorms for the southeast, for the Great Lakes, for the upper Midwest, and for the Northeast. So looking pretty soggy for your New Year's Eve day, and also for California. More on that later on in the video. But here comes the system. The system that we are really watching here. It is over the Four Corners on Sunday. So like Phoenix, Arizona, Tucson, Arizona, Salt Lake City, if you're in Colorado, Wyoming, that's where you're going to have a lot of snow, some strong winds, some moderate to heavy rainfall that is anticipated. But once this gets into the high plains, it's going to get pretty interesting. Let's take a look at that. So as we go forward here into Monday morning, Monday morning, 5 days out, we can see there's the snow. There's going to be a surface low that tries to develop here over central and northern Texas. Out ahead of this, we do have a lot of warm air advection that is going to be streaming off the Gulf of Mexico. You can see a lot of the showers and thunderstorms starting to bubble up here on the second day of January. So a pretty active pattern setup here, very dynamic, that is in the forecast models of the European. All right, going forward here, especially from Monday afternoon into Tuesday morning, really dynamic system. I mean, we have a very classic warm sector setup here with numerous supercells all the way from Louisiana into possibly Arkansas, all the way into Mississippi, Alabama, even Georgia could get in on the action, including for, say, Mississippi. I just said Mississippi. I mean to say Kentucky, Tennessee, southern half there of Missouri. If you're in central and southern half of, say, Illinois and Indiana, you have a pretty good chance here of seeing some severe weather. It's way too far out, so it's only a specific area down here that is under a slight risk for severe weather. But it is very important to take note of this, because there is a lot of discreteness to these storms that are looking very likely. We're not seeing much of a squall line type event. We're looking at a lot of renegade supercells that could develop here in the warm sector that could favor the potential for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. Also on the northern side of this, we're talking about moderate to heavy snowfall, freezing rain. So another one of those very ugly storms that can bring a lot of impacts to the high plains and also to the Great Lakes. And not only that, more stormy weather is possible there for California. Speaking of that, we'll look at that in just a second. And then more rain for the southeast by the time we go into Wednesday and Thursday. And that continues all the way into maybe Thursday for the Northeast. So for like the New England area, you might get another system that kind of sweeps on by and brings more snowfall to the Great Lakes that don't need any more snow. You really need a break. I promise you that right now. You've just seen way too much from Elliott, from previous winter storms, from Carly. It's just been very rough there, unfortunately, for the Great Lakes and for the upper Midwest. And you really kind of need to dry out, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. So that's a look at the European or the Euro model. This is a look at the global forecasting system, or the US GFS model. Again, it develops the surface low right about in the same spot, maybe a little bit further east, which again will impact on what happens next. So for Monday morning, that's what we have: moderate to heavy snowfall for the Four Corners, for the Northern Rockies, showers advecting to the north part of that system. But the GFS model does not have so much of a warm sector setup here, as we can see. Again, more kind of a line of storms that really show up here. Maybe a little bit of discreteness, but mainly a different scenario here on the GFS, because it develops the surface low a little bit more faster than what the European model shows, but also has more heavier snowfall for the Dakotas and also for the northern plains, including for the Northern Rockies with that dynamic system. And this would continue all the way into, say, Tuesday, with more linear, not much of a discrete cell setup here, which is quite interesting because the GFS and the Euro have not really been agreeing on anything lately, at least in the close range. So we will have to monitor this on see which one wins out, if it's going to be the GFS or if it's going to be the Euro computer model that wins out on this scenario. Because either way, we are looking at a big time severe weather event maybe by Monday and Tuesday next week, and that would carry all the way into perhaps even into Wednesday for the southeastern US, with moderate to heavy rainfall and some strong winds. All right, so now what is the setup for the severe weather that is coming? Well, first of all, we're looking at a lot of moisture advection. So we got dew points in the upper 50s to middle 60s from, say, the Arklatex, Mislatex area, as well as the southeastern U.S. as warm air advection moves up behind the warm front. So the warm front's going to lift northward. We have a cold front and dry line that's going to be kind of mixing eastward across the central and eastern Texas plain, as well as even for the Oklahoma, where we have a triple point that sets up here. A very classic spring-like setup storm that ends up being in January. So we're going to watch this to see how it all pans out there. This is going to contribute to a lot of instability, as we have here lots of greens and oranges, which means we're going to have anywhere between about 900 to maybe 1500 joules per kilogram. So weak to moderate instability, likely to overspread the warm sector across Arklatex, Mislatex region into the deep south of the Gulf Coast states of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. We were going to have to, again, see on how this progresses with each progressing numerical model run as more data comes in. On top of that, we are talking about some very strong winds, okay? A negatively tilted trough, and Justin and Ethan B will certainly agree with me on this. So very negatively tilted here. Oops, there it is. So negatively tilted trough, we got the flow that's doing this. And in the right front quadrant, we got the best dynamics. We got a lot of baroclinic ascent. We have a lot of divergent flow aloft. The left exit region of this is where we are going to have our surface flow that tries to develop over the Kansas and the Oklahoma region. And that's going to possibly, again, set off severe weather here. We have southwesterly flow at 500 millibars. We go down to the lower levels at 850 millibars. That's about 5,000 feet above the surface. We have really strong southwesterly flow here at about 50 to almost 60 knots over Arkansas, over Louisiana, over Mississippi. So the Mislatex area gonna have some very strong dynamics here. Strong winds feeding in with this dynamical setup that is in the forecast. On top of that, we have southerly winds that come off the Gulf of Mexico helping to feed in that moisture. So we're looking at low LCLs and really high and also very low LFCs on top of high ELs, and that's going to support again high topped convection and vertical development for thunderstorm and updrafts. So again, we got to watch this. Lots of wind energy with this, and a lot of veering in the wind profiles in the first 1 to 2 kilometers that could favor and foster a lot of supercells. Speaking of that, the Storm Prediction Center, let's go right over to that, and we have a slight risk for severe weather for the Mid-Latex, Arc-Latex region, all the way from eastern Texas into the Kentucky, southern Indiana, southern Illinois, as well as Mississippi. There is a 15% chance. This is not the first time or the second time. This is like the third or fourth time we have seen slight risks beyond day 5 and day 6. All right, so this again could be a big event, something that we have not seen in a while, at least in January. So if you're in the Dixie Alley area here and you're watching this video, you could be looking at the threat for tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail. Strong tornadoes, certainly a possibility, but not enough high confidence for me to really discuss much of that in this video until we get closer. But all that you need to know is we are looking at a severe weather day on day 6, nothing for day 7 or day 8 or day 5 or day 4, just that one lonely day, we're looking at a slight risk for severe weather. They might go ahead and issue a day 6 in their outlook tomorrow. That would be day 5 for Monday, and then day 6 would be again for Tuesday into Wednesday. All right, and that would be for a slight risk for severe weather. So now that we talked about severe weather, we are now going to transition into the western half of the U.S. because we are talking a lot about storms. This is really concerning, and it's enough to where we're going to have to talk about this in most of my videos now, because it's going to be storm after storm after storm, to the point there is a slight risk for flash flooding in California now. Watching for next week for the potential for even a moderate risk for flash flooding later on down the road. So we're in some trouble here when it comes to a lot of rainfall. I know we need it, it's good news, but too much in a short amount of time could really lead to a lot of problems on rivers, small creeks, streams, urban flooding, roadway flooding, avalanches, mud and rock slides, that sort of thing that we're dealing with. So let's kind of walk this through on the European model. Okay, and we can see with what we're dealing with. There's our system here that is moving, or that will move into California. There's actually animation below my head here, below my face cam, showing that system, and it's tapping into a lot of this atmospheric river moisture that's headed right for California. So let's kind of roll this through and see with what we got going on. So the first system hits us by late tonight into Thursday. Light to moderate rainfall is anticipated, and then another impulse of moisture really slams the region by Thursday night and into Friday. This is more intense than the first wave of moisture that's going to roll through tonight, according to the latest Euro model. And then there's another system out here, more of a frontogenetic forcing type thing, that is going to be headed right towards California, and this is going to unleash a lot of rain. This is the one that's going to make a lot of the headlines for a while, probably for a lot of flooding, because it's going to be an atmospheric river tapping into a lot of wind energy and upper level support for a lot of rainfall and a lot of orographic effects, including some moderate to heavy snowfall for the mountains. Perhaps we could be looking at a lot of possibly 5 to 6 plus feet of snowfall, just let alone with this coming system. So that's going to roll through Friday into Saturday. Stormy weekend ahead here for the West, for California, for Nevada, for Oregon, Washington, for the Four Corners. Definitely a time you don't want to be doing a lot of any activities outside, because it's just going to be nasty. It's just going to be just dreary, stormy, windy, cold. Just going to be just stay inside kind of thing. Very heavy snowfall for the Sierras. My goodness. Snowfall rates could top 6 to almost 12 inches an hour. I'm not kidding you. In some areas, we can be looking at that much of snow in that short amount of time. That moves through. We get a break on Sunday. That's for sure. Most of the models, the ensembles are indicating a break between storms on New Year's Day. Then it's all back to wet weather. The next system comes in on Monday for California, for Oregon, for Washington, more snowfall, and then another storm system, another beast, another atmospheric river slams California on the European model by Tuesday and Wednesday next week. This has been pretty consistent among the last couple of days of numerical data that we have seen. A very strong system slamming the coast again of California for the Tuesday, Thursday time frame. January 2nd through the 4th is kind of what I'm eyeballing here on the European model, and a lot of snowfall. My goodness, it's not going to stop up there for quite some time. So going to the Sierra might be impossible for a while. Get up there when you can on Sunday when it's drier, when things will be a lot better on the roadways, because as soon as the Monday comes, we're going to see just a series again of storms coming back into the full forecast. That continues all the way to Friday, storm after storm. It's just, it doesn't stop. And so when we walk through this, you can see just storm, another storm, it just doesn't end. It's just one after another. And when we get these storms like this, it's good we get rain, but again, a lot in a short amount of time is going to lead to a lot of problems. So here's a look at the rainfall forecast on the European model, and I mean, it is really significant. Me and Justin G, because he lives in SoCal, I live in NorCal, and we were talking about this, and he is literally like, my gosh, Euro, what are you on? Are you on some drugs or something? Because this is quite a bit of rainfall. I mean, some of these areas in California could end up getting almost a foot or more of rainfall. In fact, let's zoom in. Yeah, that is 16 to 17 inches of rainfall for the Sierra foothills, for the mountains, including for the coastal range mountains, that could get almost a foot of rainfall in the next 10 days. That's over an inch a day on average for this region. A lot of rain. I mean, really significant. So you're going to hear a lot about the western pack of weather for a while, as we are in a very active, hyperactive flow type setup here that favors a lot of these storm systems that slam California. So a lot of rain there. The European on snowfall is also very concerning. Look at this. Lots of snow for the mountains of the Sierra. 300 inches. I mean, 300 inches of snowfall in the next 10 days. I don't know if it's going to happen, but wow, Euro, that you're just hype. I mean, that's a lot of snow for the mountains. So getting up to the Sierra, probably a no bueno for a while. For the Nevada, for the Four Corners, for Colorado, good news, you might see up to 10 plus feet of snowfall in the next 10 days for some of these areas. You do need it a lot. For the Pacific Northwest, not quite as much, as the storm track is just to your south. So these storms not going to deliver a whole lot of snowfall, unfortunately, for Washington or for the Cascades. But nevertheless, it's snow. You're going to get some. But boy, a lot of us down here really need it. And I'm quite excited for it, because we do need it. So rainfall anomalies are looking very substantial. Look at this. For California, anywhere between 5 to 15 inches above normal for the next 10 days. This is not a month by any means. This is the next 10 days. And there's a lot of blue on your screen. That denotes way above average rainfall chances for the West, including for Nevada, for Oregon, for SoCal, for the Four Corners. Very good news. We need the rain, fill up the snow, fill up the lakes. We need everything we can get, because yes, we don't get rain in the summertime. All that snow is for spring runoff, and that feeds our reservoirs. Rainfall on the GFS is very significant, 28 inches for the mountains. If that pans out, we're going to be dealing with a lot of problems, you bet. Also, for the northern portion of California, could get 12 to 18 inches of rainfall. I mean, if we look at the entire United States really quick, I mean, you cannot find anything more than California's rainfall. I mean, even the southeast, you're going to get like almost 10 inches of rainfall, but look at California. definitely taking the cake in first place with the most rainfall that we have seen in quite some time. Well, when the West gets wet, it gets stormy. When it rains, it pours, in other words. The GFS way above average with rainfall, similar to the European model, so there's pretty high confidence we are going to be in a very stormy wet pattern for the next 10 plus days. Also, snowfall totals on the GFS model are close to 400 inches for the Sierra Mountains. So this is going to lead to a lot of problems potentially. Again, this is based on the 12Z output of the GFS. This could go down, way down, or it could go way up. It can go all over the place. But there is trends here that favor lots of snow and lots of rain and flood potential for the west coast of California, including for Nevada, Oregon, and Washington. Before I do end the video, if you did like today's video, everyone, and the detail that I put into these videos, make sure please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, and sharing this video with your family and friends on social media, as it really means a lot, because this weather pattern is going to be going cuckoo caca for a while. It's going to be wild. We're talking severe weather for the Midwest, the Deep South next week. We're talking storms for California. You definitely need to stay up to date on my YouTube channel here by clicking the red subscribe button, hitting the like, and sharing this video with their family and friends. And also be sure to check out the Weather Force Discord server. There's a link in the description below this video, as well as to my Facebook page. San Francisco Weather Center group is there. It's all in the description below this video. But until next time, I'll see you back here in the next video.